We're all good? All right, we'll try and do this between trains. Kia ora everybody, good morning. Over the last couple of years across New Zealand, Kiwis have been really clear with us. Their number one concern, their number one challenge is the rising cost of living. Kiwis are reasonable. They don't expect government to wave a magic wand and make all of the cost of living challenges disappear overnight. But there are practical things that the government can do that will make a real difference. And we're announcing one of those today. Our next Labour government will cap public transport fares so that if you're in Auckland, Wellington or Christchurch, the most you will pay for your public transport is $20 per week. If you're living in other centres where there's a public transport network operating, fares will be capped at $10 a week. This is a practical cost of living measure that's going to make a difference for hundreds of thousands of New Zealanders when they use public transport. Those who are living further afield will obviously experience the biggest benefits. If they're commuting a long way to get into town each day, they're going to experience the best benefits. They're also some of the people who will have felt the pinch from the rising fuel costs the most. This gives them an option to use public transport and make significant savings every week. The cost of living is by far the number one issue that New Zealanders are raising with us. They're working hard, they're playing by the rules, they're doing everything right, and yet they feel like they're going backwards. Public transport fare caps will allow them to keep more of their own money so that they can actually make more progress. I'll hand over to Tangi, who will share a few of the key details, and then we'll take your questions.
Thank you, Chris. At its heart, this policy is very simple and very straightforward. Under the Labour fare cap policy, come July of next year, people that get on their train, their bus, their ferry, they use their public transport card, their other system of payment, they tap on, they tap off. Their weekly spend, once it gets to that $20 cap for Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch and $10 elsewhere in the country, they will pay no further fee or fare for the remainder of their public transport use in their region for the remainder of that week. This is going to provide real relief to commuters, to workers, to people in households that make multiple trips over the course of a week, and this will make a real difference. We are going to fund this by ensuring that it comes from the National Land Transport Fund. Less than 1% of that fund will support hundreds of thousands of Kiwis being able to access affordable public transport, which is the right thing to do. We've been hearing about the need for real relief when it comes to cost of living. This is a real difference that Labour's fare cap will make, and we're looking forward to having it implemented from the 1st of July.
All right, happy to open up for questions.
Mr Hipkins, the National Land Transport Fund is under a bit of pressure. I understand that Treasury was recently warning the government that there will be some funding pressure due to the fuel crisis. So are you confident that you can find this money within that fund and that you won't have to cut other things?
As we've said, we're talking about $65 million a year. It's less than 1% of the National Land Transport Fund. Every 3 years, the government has to set out its priorities for that fund. A new GPS, government policy statement, is due at the end of this year. The officials then go away and work out how to fit all of the government's priorities within that fund. So this is a process that happens anyway, every 3 years anyway. We're saying that one of our priorities is going to be public transport fare caps. And then, of course, everything else gets reassessed against that. That includes the phasing and sequencing of big roading projects. The current government have got a big challenge on their hands that all of the roading commitments they've made can't be met from within that fund. So there's some reprioritisation already going on there.
Can you run me through the workings for that $65 million a year?
Yeah, I'll get Tangi to do that.
So basically the 65 million is based on what the uptake would be. Auckland Transport itself, its own modelling suggests a 6% increase in patronage over a $20 fare cap. So if we extrapolate that across other metros and other parts of the country, we're looking at that $65 million a year.
How are you anticipating it being so much less than the harmonised public transport that was
Yeah, the public transport half price was in excess of 130 million or thereabouts, and that's because every single journey is subsidised under a half price approach, whereas under this cap approach there are still journeys where people will still have to continue to pay revenue until they hit that cap, as opposed to a half price sort of approach where every single journey is coming at a subsidy.
So you're confident that with an increased patronage due to the lower prices, that's been factored into your costings?
Yes, it has. And look, if this leads to an increase in patronage, well and above that, then that's a good thing. It shows that the policy is working and that we're encouraging, incentivising people to use public transport, which has wider benefits, of course, for the rest of the roading network as well.
What proportion of commuters will take enough trips to exceed cap?
Well, I think a number will, and we've been hearing about. Well, it's still unknown at this stage, but look, this is an opportunity for us to provide real cost of living relief to households who continue to do it tough, and we're confident that the uptake will be really high.
You must have modelled this or priced this in.
Well, it is based on the uplift and current patronage that exists across the entire network.
But there would be some routes, for example, that would benefit a lot more from it. So, for example, someone in Hobsonville Point who catches a ferry, that's about $20 a day for that ferry service. So it's about, you hit that cap within 1 day of patronage. So I guess again I challenge you, are you sure that 65 million will cover the increased patronage?
Based on the information that we have, yes we are.
What roading projects would there be cut to cover this?
There's a reprioritisation or a rephasing exercise underway already around the roads of national significance. That happens every 3 years, where there's an assessment as to what's affordable. The roads of national significance, Chris Bishop himself has admitted that they're not going to be delivered in the next 10 years, potentially not the next 20 years. So there may be some effect at the absolute margin around the timing of some of those projects, but we're talking about only 1% of the overall national land transport budget here.
And I think you'd agree as well that in rural areas in particular, public transport could be better. I mean, why should those rural voters be sort of financing the commutes for big city commutes?
Everybody contributes to the National Land Transport Fund, and everybody benefits from the National Land Transport Fund, but we all benefit in different ways. So in some cases, if you're living in an urban area where you're using public transport, you'll benefit from that. If you're travelling on one of the new motorways, or even an existing motorway that's being properly maintained, you benefit from that. And if you're travelling on a rural road that's part of the state highway network, you benefit from the National Land Transport Fund as well. And of course, some of the National Land Transport Fund goes into supporting local authorities with local roads as well. So everybody does get a benefit from the National Land Transport Fund.
In terms of this policy here, are those rural commuters kind of being left out in the cold in terms of cost of living relief if there isn't public transport available for them?
This is one of our cost of living relief policies. Rural communities will benefit from being able to go and visit the doctor 3 times a year for free under another cost of living policy that we've announced. So we've got a series of cost of living measures that we'll be announcing. Not every person will benefit from every one of them, but this one will certainly benefit hundreds of thousands of Kiwis.
Are you sure the public transport system can accommodate more users?
Yes, there is excess capacity in the public transport system at the moment. We're actually below pre-COVID levels in terms of public transport use. So there's an ability for the system to absorb potentially quite a significant uplift in passenger numbers without the need for additional capacity.
But we know from the evidence that the thing that really increases uptake in public transport is that frequency improvement invested in the actual service, rather than the fares. Is this going to be paired with more investment in service, particularly in those towns and smaller areas?
We're committed to doing both. We're obviously announcing one part of that today, which is around the public transport fare caps. But if you look at our history in government, we did invest heavily, alongside local government, in improving public transport's reliability and capacity. Big investments in metro rail networks are a really good example of that.
What about
is this
ferry
going to
commuters?
So this covers the inner harbour ferries, which are already part of Auckland's public transport network. It doesn't cover the middle and outer harbour ferry services like the Waiheke one. So in Wellington, there is an inner harbour ferry service that's covered, the east-west ferry link. In Christchurch, I believe there's a ferry link in Littleton that's covered by this. It doesn't cover inter-regional transport, and we should be clear about that. So the inter-island ferries clearly not covered, and the intercity buses and intercity trains are not covered.
Why not make public transport free?
This is a policy that we believe is affordable, and we can deliver it relatively quickly using existing funding within the National Land Transport Fund.
Will this require new technology? Because, I mean, Auckland's just getting used to being able to tap on with any card.
Yeah.
this will probably require some configuring to the system, right?
Yeah, so Auckland and Christchurch already have the capacity to introduce fare caps very quickly. And Wellington, there's still a lot of work going on to bring Wellington's system up to scratch, which is why we've set 1st of July as the deadline, because it might take us a little bit of time to get that worked through. And in some of those regional centres, we'll need to work through with them just how they can make that work using their systems, which is why we've allowed a good 6 months to allow us the time to do that.
And what about an additional cost to bring all of the systems up to scratch to be able to handle this new service?
So there has been quite a significant investment, of course, in a nationally integrated ticketing system. Now, the sooner that's online, the sooner that everyone will be able to benefit from that, and it will be very simple there. We're confident that certainly Auckland and Wellington, Auckland and Christchurch, the system's ready to go. They can do that now, and we'll work with the others to identify either whether they can come into the new national system earlier in order to be able to do it, or whether there's a workaround that they can use in the meantime to make sure they can deliver these benefits from the 1st of July at the latest. Of course, if we can do it sooner, we'll try and do that.
Are you confident that national ticketing system will be able to handle this?
As I said, we're not banking on that. That's why we've left the provision there that if we need to do some workarounds with those systems that can't currently do it, and Auckland and Christchurch can currently do it, Wellington, we believe that it can do it, but might need a little bit of time to prepare, and then with the regional centres would need to work through that with them.
Because you anticipate that this would push back the bringing in of the national transport?
I know Tangi's been having conversations about that, so I'll let him answer that.
Look, I know there's been a significant amount of money that's been invested in the NTS. Everyone wants that to move as quickly as it can be. I mean, it is about innovation, it's about technology. We haven't heard from the government about the latest update around that, so we are certainly expecting that it's all on track to continue being rolled out.
How seriously, Chris, are you taking the warnings from Treasury around the land transport funds? Given the expenditure is expected to far outweigh the revenue, and if you're throwing another policy into the mix, 65 million a year, it's not insignificant, and just saying it will come out of the wash. How seriously are you taking those warnings?
I am taking those warnings very, very seriously. The 65 million benefits a lot more people much more quickly than investment in the roads of national significance, which are much, much more expensive than that, take a lot longer, and in some cases the business case for those is very sketchy. So while we've said that we will continue the work around the roads of national significance, even the current government itself has conceded that they cannot be delivered within the National Land Transport Fund. All of the advice they've received has told them that that's the case.
Do you think this is enough detail for voters at the moment? If you're saying, well, look, every 3 years we'll talk about priorities and we'll be able to fit this in, and you're not really saying what in particular you will deprioritise.
We've delivered a lot more detail on this policy around how we're going to fund it than the current government, the current government, have delivered around the ROMs.
Well, certainly, but that's the we're talking about you.
Yeah, this is a very...
comfortable that you are providing enough detail.
Yep.
Basically saying it'll come out in the wash, it'll be fine.
We have released the detail around how much it's going to cost. We've released the information around how we've calculated that, and we've released the information around how we're going to pay for it.
How much of a political risk now that the incumbent government might match this, say, from that fuel crisis buffer fund themselves?
That would be a good outcome for New Zealand consumers. It would be a good outcome for those using public transport. One of the reasons that we've left our policy announcements up until now, and there's more to come, is that we wanted to give the government an opportunity to actually do something to support New Zealanders with the cost of living that we would support. They haven't done that, so now we're announcing our own policy.
Do you feel a sense of relief today, getting a policy out there after that?
Oh, plenty more to come, but we wanted to see what the government were doing in the budget before we started making announcements of our own. There was a possibility that they would have done something like this in the budget this year. They didn't, so now we are.
And this is the first cost of living policy. You've got more to come.
Yes, there's more cost of living relief on the way.
And why have you made, say, Wellington to Marlborough part of the policy, but not public transport to live in? People might be wondering that.
Masterton, I think, is what you're referring rather than
sorry.
Marlborough, because it's part of the existing public transport network. So the trains that run between Wellington and Masterton are part of the Wellington Metro public transport network. The Capital Connection, the Transcedic, I don't know what the latest name for it is, it always seems to be renamed, but those longer haul train services aren't part of the Metro commuter network.
How confident are you that it will only cost 65 million a year?
that's calculation based on what they're currently collecting through the fare box. So we're confident that it reflects what they're currently getting in terms of the contribution that passengers are making.
Right, you say it'll cost $65 million a year. The average public transport user will save $1,200 a year, and that works out to be just 54,000 people. Are you confident that your cost of that?
Because those are obviously the average and maximum savings, depending on what you're calculating. So often, some people will benefit less than that. Some people will benefit more, depending on where they are, how often they're travelling, and so on.
Did you say a 6% rise in patronage as a result of this? That seems a bit ambitious because half-price fares didn't go up that much, did they?
Well, this is the basis of Auckland Transport's modelling around what a 20 cap would look like. Yeah, so that's for Auckland an additional 5 million boardings a year.
Why are they so ambitious or so optimistic about this as opposed to what happened under half-price fares?
Well, I think again, at the moment we are looking at a cost of living crisis, and this is providing immediate relief to people come July of next year under a Labour-led government, and so that's what our focus is on.
Can I just be clear, is this temporary 3 years indefinite?
No, so these are always done on a year-by-year basis, locked in as well with a 3-year GPS, and so that's what our focus is.
But our intention is for it to be ongoing.
Yeah.
And Waihikians have long suffered being outside of the public transport. It's now roughly 6 years old this year. Will you at some point look to bring that small suburb into the public transport network? And how much extra would that cost?
Yeah, look, I mean, that is always a conversation for Auckland and its local decision makers here. The approach that we're taking with the cap is to apply the existing inclusions and exclusions that already exist here in Auckland. There is always an opportunity for a future conversation with Auckland Council, Auckland Transport and others about what that might look like in the future. But for us, wanting to provide swift, quick and timely relief at a cost of living crisis time, this will make it a nice, easy transition to do so.
But is that a conversation that you want to have? Do you want to bring Waiheke into Auckland's public transport?
Oh, look, that is a matter for Auckland in terms of the decisions that they take, but it's also very important that we are having ongoing conversations, and certainly I know that's what the Labour team is keen to have with Auckland.
Did you believe it was politically untenable for the Labour Party to provide public transport for people living in Waiheke?
Look, that's not the issue for us. The focus is on bringing in a quick approach to a fares cap, and $20 here in Auckland is going to make a huge difference. Being able to do that quickly alongside Auckland is what our focus is.
Chris, on Rakesh.
So any other last questions on that before, because then I imagine there'll be, okay, happy to go to others now.
Ginny Anderson, the police spokesperson, this morning saying to the police minister around the issue of where the quote, just because you make the commissioner say something doesn't make it true. By that comment, she's implying that the police minister has told the police commissioner to say what he said in regards to the question. How do you believe that to be fact?
I'm surprised the police commissioner is deciding to play this out in public. He still has a responsibility as a good employer. Rakesh Naidu has done nothing wrong in putting his hand up to be a member of Parliament. He is a distinguished and very well respected member of the police force. Police members are entitled to put their hand up and say, yeah, I want to stand for Parliament. It does become an employment matter at that point for the police as to how they manage the process. I'm very surprised to see the police commissioner choosing to negotiate that through the public. That does not seem like good employment practice to me.
Just bring it back to the question, if we can. Your police spokesperson is saying that the police minister has intervened and told the police commissioner was supposed to be operation independent to say something, to do something. Do you agree with that?
Oh, you can ask the police minister what he said to the police commissioner.
No, I'm asking you whether you agree with your police spokesperson. She has made an allegation, quite a serious allegation, that the police minister has intervened. Do you agree?
Well, the police minister's intervened publicly. He's attacking a member of the police force who's put their hand up to be a member of Parliament.
You're not answering the question though. Do you believe that Mark Mitchell has told Richard Chambers to say what he has said about the issue?
He's said it publicly. Mark Mitchell has said that publicly. Do you think the police commissioner doesn't read the paper?
So are you saying that the police commissioner has only done what he has done because the police minister has made a public comment?
Well, you can ask him that.
No, I'm asking you because you're the police spokesperson said it.
Well, yeah, but you can ask him what he said, what he's saying.
So why did Ginny say what she said?
Well, I'm very comfortable with what Ginny said in her interview this
Do
morning.
you agree with what Ginny said?
I think it's very unfortunate that the police commissioner is choosing to make public comments with no evidential base whatsoever about an outstanding member of the police force, member of the public, who has decided to stand for Parliament.
But do you think that he's made those comments?
Was that?
But do you think that the police commissioner has made those comments on the instruction of the police minister?
Well, that's a question that he should answer.
Because that is the allegation that your spokesperson.
That is a question that he should answer.
Do you think that it makes Richard Chambers unfit for his job?
I think Richard Chambers should... I'll let the train go past, shall I? I think... That one was breaking a lot.
CRL test.
I think the police commissioner should respect that Rakesh Naidu has done nothing wrong here. He's a very well-respected and distinguished member of the police. As soon as he went through a process to confirm that he was going to be a candidate for Labor, he declared that to the police. Well, I said when we announced it that we recognised that that was going to require a transition process that the police were going to need to manage, and Rakesh went into that in good faith. Where else do you find that that's being negotiated through the media?
If it is your contention that he is not acting independently and he is acting at the behest of the instruction of the police minister, surely you cannot then say that he should remain police.
I think Richard Chambers, as the police commissioner, should follow good employment practice, and that is to manage a transition process here in good faith.
Do you think that reputation has been damaged?
Based on the feedback that we've been getting from communities up and down the country, it's done the current government more damage than Rakesh Naidu. He is incredibly well respected. People know that his integrity is beyond reproach. He has done nothing wrong, and this has actually damaged the government and its standing with those communities who see him being attacked in a way that other high-profile public figures who have put themselves forward for elected office have not been. Don Brash went from being the governor of the Reserve Bank to being a National Party candidate in the space of 24 hours. It was not declared to the government who was a Labor government at the time, until it was announced. Tim Grosser was on an overseas posting negotiating trade deals on behalf of a Labor government when it was announced that he was going to be a National Party candidate. The National Party have a massive double standard here.
So
Has this
have
dented...
any lawyers been involved with this?
Look, I'm not going to do what the police commissioner is going to do. This is ultimately an employment matter, and so I'm not going to discuss it publicly.
Has this dented your confidence in the police commissioner?
My confidence in the police commissioner is immaterial. He ultimately has a process that he needs to manage to preserve the political neutrality of the police, and it's important that he does that.
But do you think he's been a bit too political here?
Was that?
Do you think he's been acting a bit too political here?
I'm surprised he has chosen to negotiate this through the public.
You could be the future Prime Minister. Your impression of the independence or lack thereof of the police commissioner is very material.
The police commissioner is a statutorily independent role, and I respect that.
What do you think Mark Mitchell meant when he said that the candidate might have been privy to sensitive material? Isn't it politically sensitive?
I'd be surprised if that was the case, because Mark Mitchell shouldn't be sharing politically sensitive material with the police.
Well, what could it be that he'd worry about senior policemen knowing about something sensitive?
Anybody going from a high-profile role, whether it's in the police, whether it's the Reserve Bank, whether it's the Ministry for Foreign Affairs and Trade, is going to be privy to confidential government information. There is no evidence whatsoever that Rakesh Naidu has shared any of that with the Labor Party, because he hasn't.
The review that the police are doing is not just into conversations with Labor, but with any third party. Are you concerned that there has been any sharing of inappropriate information and you saw assurances from Rakesh that is not?
I am very surprised to see the police commissioner making a statement that basically has no evidential base behind it whatsoever, and seems to be asserting that somebody is guilty until they've proven themselves to be innocent, when there is no case to answer because there is no evidence that anyone's done anything wrong.
Have you had a conversation with Mr. Naidu about this?
I'm absolutely confident that he shared no information.
So have you had a conversation with him about it?
I haven't actually spoken to him in person because he's obviously travelling at the moment, but I'm absolutely confident that he has done nothing wrong and that his integrity is beyond reproach.
Will he help shape Labour
He has not had any discussions around that yet, because obviously he's been working for the police. Once he's finished with the police, we'll have that conversation with him.
Okay, this last question, guys.
Yeah.
Would he be a future police minister for you?
I'd never rule anything in or out, but I've also been really clear, and I'll say it again and again and again, probably between now and November. There's only 2 jobs that I'm guaranteeing in a Labour-led government. One is the Prime Minister's job, which will be me. The other is Minister of Finance, which will be Barbara Edmonds. Those are non-negotiable. Everybody else knows that they've got to earn the right to be in government and to earn, prospective ministerial roles.
Thank you.
All right, cheers everyone. Thank you. We're going to go and get on the train now.
Oh yeah. Should we go?